That's Spotlight on Sports.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of Spotlight on Sports, the segment that lets you know what's happening in the local sports arena. And tonight, a lot of football right in this area. And to talk about that, I have joining me Mr. Jeff Kidd, sports editor at the Island Packet, and Mr. Mark Puris, sports writer at the Beaufort Gazette. Thanks for joining me this evening, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
And 6 out of the 7 teams will be playing in our viewing area, will be playing home tonight. And the one team that is on the road is Hilton Head, so let's talk about them first.
Of course, it makes sense, right? Yeah, Hilton Head, I think we talked a little bit last week about Hilton Head's their matchup with James Island. Thought maybe they had turned a corner 2 weeks ago with their defensive performance against North Charleston. They go out and lose 27-0 to James Island. And I think that's a win that's kind of, or a game that's kind of indicative of the way things have gone with low country football this year in Region 7 and Region 8. You know, if you look at, you could look back at the schedule and say, well, James Island lost to this team who lost to this team who we just pounded like a drum, so maybe we should beat James Island. Of course, it didn't work out that way. There really are a lot of teams that are kind of in the middle of the, really in the thick of a playoff hunt this year. I think you look at Stratford and Summerville, clearly a lot better than anybody else in those two regions. West Ashley, clearly weaker than everybody else in those two regions. Everybody else really, I think, has got a legitimate shot at the playoffs. And there's going to be a lot of teams when you get down to that last week of the season who have a mathematical chance of making the playoffs. And probably going to be a lot of confusion in that last week just because of the point system being so convoluted. But I think it's, unless somebody really establishes themselves and makes a run through the region, I think you're going to see a lot of teams finishing anywhere between 4 and 7, 6 and 5, and I think that probably includes all 3 of the county schools. Battery Creek with their passing game might have a chance to get to 7 wins, but you know, again, we say the same thing week after week. You know, Hilton Head High goes on the road to play Wando, team that's 1 and 3. This is a game they're going to need to win to make the postseason at the end of the year. Last week was that kind of game, and they didn't get it done.
And you know, at the end of the year, we're going to ask you to explain the whole point system to us.
Don't do that because I don't understand it. That's
But Mark, now you're going to be over at Beaufort High tonight, and they're coming off of they've been on the road a couple of weeks, and they're coming home. What can we expect there tonight?
Well, they're coming off a tough loss to Berkeley. Berkeley's a team that they throw a triple option at you, and Beaufort has a very inexperienced defense, and an inexperienced defense against a triple option offense is not a good combination. And they gave up 28 points in the first quarter, which was spelled doom for them. They also had a couple of key injuries. Ricky Reinhardt was one of them. So what we're probably going to see tonight is Chris Mizell lining up at quarterback. He went from receiver to running back and now to quarterback. He is the slash, I guess, for the area this year, and maybe he'll play tight end or kick some field goals for the end of the year. You never know. But what he's probably going to give them is an option-type quarterback to throw back at James Island and see what they can do with it. James Island is another team that, like Jeff was saying, one of those teams that's hard to figure out. You can't figure out where they're coming from or how good they are. The first week they put up all those points against Battery Creek, and they haven't really scored that many points since then. So it's up in the air tonight. You know, whoever wants that game is probably going to be able to take it. But when I say it's up in the air tonight, I don't mean the Beaufort High passing game, because I wouldn't expect to see that ball in the air very much.
Speaking of passing games, Battery Creek, which does have a passing game, they have homecoming tonight. Goose Creek is coming to town. What can we expect out there?
Well, Battery Creek took it to Stratford a little bit last week. As a matter of fact, at one point they were 40-35 and about a half yard short of recovering an onside kick. And Stratford ended up winning that game 54-35. But to put up 35 points against Stratford says a lot about that offense. We wanted to see what they could do against a good defense. And Stratford hadn't allowed more than 6 points in a game yet this year. As a matter of fact, they scored twice as many points as all the teams combined that have played Stratford so far this year. So Battery Creek, well, what they can do with the ball and when they get it on offense, there's no doubt about that. However, they gave up 54 points to Stratford running and passing the ball. I think there are some serious concerns. It's just another one of those teams that has a strength and a weakness, and how much the other team can exploit that weakness and how much they can exploit the other team's weakness. I mean, it just all comes together for these strange matchups that we keep getting. Goose Creek is a team that you just don't know. I talked to Philip Bowman, and he said that Goose Creek has lost 2 games they should have won and won 2 games they should have lost so far this year. He's the sports writer at the Post and Courier who's seen their games. And he said coming into this game against Battery Creek, he doesn't know what to expect out of them because this is a game they probably should not win. But their history so far this year means they're going to take it to Battery Creek and give them a pretty good game.
Okay, and now since I have you, we were both out at Thomas Hayward last week. They really looked good, but you know, Hilton Head Prep is a little undermanned this year. We'll say that. And
You definitely got to consider the competition.
right. So what can we expect against St. Andrews? St. Andrews coming to Thomas Hayward tonight.
Well, St. Andrews is a very, very good football team. This is a game that Thomas Hayward coach Harry Sprouse really wants to win. They need this type of game. The 2 games that they've won so far, the one of them was against Cardinal Newman. There was a good game to get for them. But to win against a school like St. Andrews that's been playing some really good football this year would be a big boost to that program to show them before they go into play in the Dorchester Academy and Porter Gouds in their region that they can compete. And, you know, there's other teams in that region, too, like Pinewood Prep is a team that's on the rebound this year, and they've got an outside chance of finishing 2nd or 3rd in the region. So they need that win tonight.
Speaking of Pinewood Prep, they have Hilton Head Prep tonight.
Yeah.
And,
in fact, I'd say Pinewood Prep has a leg up on finishing 2nd in that region. They've looked pretty good this season. I would expect them to come out of Sea Pines tonight with the win. Prep's just as you were mentioning before, pretty undermanned. On top of that, had some injuries last week. You know, this will be a tough road to hoe for them. I just think, you know, Pinewood Prep at this point in the season is clearly the better team.
And Hilton Head Christian also has a tough one tonight, the defending champion.
Yeah,
Carlton Prep.
Carlton Prep, who beat St. Andrews in the Class 2A state championship game last year. You know, the Christian Academy's big problem is they're just not putting any points on the board. They're averaging, I think, something like 4.8 points a game, and that's just not going to get it done. They're really struggling right now to kind of learn their option offense. They made a decision in the preseason to move Nate Swear from quarterback to running back. They've got Grant Brown in at quarterback, who's, you know, he's learning on the job, really, as are a lot of the kids at Hilton Head Christian, who a lot of them have not played organized football until they got into high school. So that's kind of what they're up against. The athleticism, I think, is there to be competitive, but they're really going to have to learn the nuances of that offense before they're going to seriously, you know, hope to knock somebody off tonight again. You know, Carlton Prep's pretty strong. Tonight probably is not going to be that night for the Eagles.
Okay. So a lot of good games home tonight. Go out and enjoy some. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming in this evening.
Thanks for having us.
And coming up next,